Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It is FBC Radio Live. It's Tuesday, October 24th. We are just 1 week away from Halloween. Best holiday of the year. Actually, that and Christmas. My two favorite holidays. I like the festivities, Although, I don't know, John, I didn't have enough time this year, but I think starting next year, I'm going to be that over-the-top Halloween decorations guy, like someone who just spends way too much time setting things up and appreciating Halloween themed stuff because, that's just who I am. That's who I think I'm going to be.
Go for it. You'll end up scaring half the neighborhood, but that's okay.
Well, hey, I got a life-size blow-up picture of you hanging in my front yard, so it's
that'll do it.
Yeah, that'll scare all the at the very least the bettors away if they look at it. If I had our record underneath it, I'm lumping.
Wait! Don't say
I know.
Our. I'm 50 and 36 against the spread. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but combined, we're probably under 500.
Well, I can't carry you. I can't help that.
Well, just saying, just like Brady carried. I almost screwed up there. It's just like Brady carried Belichick, right? That's that.
So I'm Brady in this relationship, then, right?
Yeah. That wasn't my intent. I was kind of trying to make it out that I'd be Brady, but then again, Tom Brady would never have as poor of picks as I do. I mean, it's actually kind of pathetic. But no,
I like hooded sweatshirts, so that's part I could be with.
Okay, there you go. As long red hooded sweatshirts. Ghastly looking red hooded sweatshirts.
No. I stay away from red. Purple, blue, orange, whatever other colors you want. Red's not one of my favorite colors, but and I don't cut up the sleeves or anything. I keep them as they were intended to be worn.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. If I never see another red Patriots hoodie sweatshirt, I mean that red might as well have been blood. That's how much it traumatized me. It's ugh. See, right now, even now, I'm just sitting there staring, just thinking longingly about 2007 and what could have been. But anyways, there's I mean, you can argue there hasn't been too many teams even close to that 2007 Patriots team. You can definitely make the argument that this year there's no one even close to that sort of domination. It's just really, I mean, our top five list kind of got flipped upside down this past week, but that seems to be the theme here. The safe bet is say, hey, well, Kansas City is Kansas City, and that's a pretty safe bet. But the reality of it is, John, all these teams are so flawed, and like there's really no dominating team. I mean, we're looking at the 49ers now after last night, and all of a sudden they went from being the hands down, who the hell is going to stop the 49ers to, well, Brock Purdy's come back to earth a little bit. This team has lost 2 in a row, and all of a sudden, are the Seahawks a real threat? And that's kind of a rhetorical question. I mean, I get you can answer it if you want, John, but
I did pick them to win the division before the season started, so I'm not going to go there because I think San Francisco's better. But you know what? I'm going to keep pushing the narrative that Trent Williams should be in the MVP discussion at least. I know he's a left tackle, but that offense is different without him and with him. I think it's a comfortability factor for Brock Purdy to know that his left side is going to be clean because Trent Williams is the best offensive lineman in football. He's not going to get any MVP support, absolutely not. But, I think you see the offense kind of goes down a little bit without him there. Look at the Patriots offense was, better on Sunday because their offensive line was better. I mean, when you have a quarterback like, I don't know, Mac Jones or Brock Purdy or just about any other quarterback, they need time to throw. And again, the offensive line was not as good last night for San Francisco. No Deebo Samuel and Minnesota. Again, they're always involved in these close games. And Kirk Cousins had a nice night. He really did.
No, absolutely. It just, it kind of feels like almost like 2008 all over again, where it's like this is almost going to default to like Patrick Mahomes. Remember, like Peyton Manning won the MVP in 2008, and it's you look at that and just like, ugh. Like, I mean, I guess someone had to win it. I mean, that's kind of like where I kind of feel like we're heading, like, because like, again, I mean, we understand that this is a little bit of a popularity contest when it comes to MVP, and basically Mahomes is going to have the easiest path, so to speak, because everyone's, it's Patrick Mahomes. Okay, whatever you say. I like your thinking, though, John. I like diving a little bit deeper and not just defaulting to that. Although, again, 90% of the time, yes, it is an MVP quarterback. But the reality of it is, like, it just doesn't seem like anyone's pulling away from that. And like I said, my feeling is it's eventually going to default to Patrick Mahomes if it hasn't already. I mean, we might already be at that point, and in which case it's like, all right, well, whatever, let's just play it out, see what happens, and it's going to be kind of hard to knock that narrative a bit. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, it's like, all right, well, what's Lamar Jackson going to have to do, or what's whoever. I mean, I don't even know who's in this race right now. It's like it's Mahomes. I'd say Trent Williams, maybe Christian McCaffrey scoring a bunch of touchdowns. 24 touchdowns in 21 games with the 49ers. I'd say that was a pretty fine investment. So, yeah, look, I mean, we still got quite a ways to go this season too. And that's the crazy thing. 7 weeks in, it means we have another 10 weeks to go. A lot of things can change. I mean, just think, a couple years ago, Russell Wilson was in the MVP front-running seat at this point in the year, and it's kind of crazy to think that that's the case. But yeah, look, surprised that the 49ers lost, sure. I think more surprised that they've lost 2 in a row. I thought they would have bounced back a little bit more this year, or this week, not this year. But it just didn't seem. It seemed like they just got off to too slow of a start, and it just really kind of hurt them.
Yeah, again, Brock Purdy is someone who has played from ahead, and that's a comfortable position for a young quarterback. Last night, he was forced to play from behind. That's totally different. The defense knows you're throwing. It can put more pressure on you. It maybe closes down the playbook a little bit for you, and you're just in an uncomfortable situation. Same thing with Mac Jones, and I keep tying these two guys together, but for once, the Patriots played from ahead on Sunday, 3-0, then 10-0.
Right.
Well, that makes your offensive game plan wider when you're up 3 or 10 points, and it kind of narrows down what the opposition could do. So I think the statistics show that the team that scores first generally wins about 75, 80% of the time. I don't think that that's a coincidence.
No, I mean, of course not. And like we saw the opposite for years, and again, some people are a little bit slow to come around to it, but it used to be the opposite. It used to be, well, the defense looked a lot better when they were playing from ahead. And for years, and we're getting it now, and there's some real confusion because people for years have used like the points allowed ranking for your defense as like the be all end all, and it's really not a great, by itself especially, it's not a great indicator necessarily of great defenses. Because again, the difference between being ranked 5th in points allowed and like say 15th could be a difference of like 1.2 points per game. And that's when it comes down to it, it's not, that's really not that significant. It really isn't. So, when you look at, defenses and how they're impacted by great offense, for years, the Patriots always played with a lead. So guess what? The defense was going to look a lot better, especially when there wasn't as much pressure on them. And a lot of teams became one-dimensional because they're playing from behind. Now it's the opposite effect. Your offense isn't that driving force anymore. So you have to kind of get that lead and play from ahead. Once you're up by 10 points, this Patriots defense is pretty darn good. I know they kind of let them get back into the game late. That's an issue for another day, because that's been kind of the Patriots' MO for 20 plus years. The only difference was, well, the guy that was throwing the ball for you too kind of helped things out and kept you at bay, or kept the other team at bay when it came to them creating a comeback. But we've seen the Patriots blow leads late. I mean, that's kind of their thing. They do it just about every Super Bowl, it seems like, that they're in. They'll blow give a couple touchdowns up late, and all of a sudden it's a game. But we saw, like you said last night, the Patriots offense playing for a lead, with a lead, which is rare for this team. And it looked good. I mean, they looked strong. The offensive line, I don't think it wasn't a coincidence that they looked good, and this Patriots team looked good. And quite frankly, John, we've been questioning Buffalo for a while now, and this isn't going to quiet those questions.
No. I mean, they have some issues, obviously. They just don't have balance on offense. They put so much on Josh Allen. He's outstanding, but you can't put that much pressure on a quarterback. He's their best passer, obviously. That goes without saying. He's also their best runner. And I think that that's a lot of pressure on a quarterback physically and mentally. The offensive line is okay. It's not great. He could probably use another wide receiver, but he's got decent weapons. We get that, but they don't really have a ground game. And now the defense, which is built to play from ahead. That's the way it's built with their pass rushers. Again, if they're playing from behind, their defense can be run on. We saw the Patriots run the ball pretty effectively, as teams have been able to do against Buffalo this year. You can run against them, especially if they have the injuries they had last week. Maybe those players like Ed Oliver will be back soon, and that will tighten up their defense. But yeah, Buffalo's got many, many questions going forward.
All right. I know. There's some questions out here as to who the best 5 teams are in the league right now. So let's do that before we take off. It's going to be a very quick show today, but we do like to give our top 5 teams. And last week we were kind of lock and step, like especially the top 3 teams. We had completely the same. That might have changed because I'm pretty sure all but one of or actually 2 or 3 of the top 5 teams that we had all lost this week. So we'll see if that reshuffles the order. But yeah, I'll get started with my number 5 team, and I got the Dolphins. Again, it's kind of tough when all your top teams kind of lose games and all that stuff. But the Dolphins are still 5-2. We know their defense is, well, it's there. How good it is, I'm not quite sure. The offense, is the offense, but they're going to have to figure some things out if they want to be a serious Super Bowl contender. They're a highlight reel package, no doubt about it. But when it comes to greatness, yeah, I think they're just another pretty good team in this league. Great team, probably not, but given the state of the NFL this year, they managed to get to that number 5 spot for me. So number 5, the Miami Dolphins.
I have the Seattle Seahawks at number 5, and again,
I knew it.
Opening day. You knew I threw them in there, right? That's my
no. I honestly saw it. I was like, it's getting close to starting to push them into the mix because again, what I just had lower expectations for them. So, anyways,
yeah, I mean they lost opening day to the Rams. It looked like they sleptwalked through that game. Then they won at Detroit in overtime, which is a nice win. I know Detroit was god awful this week against Baltimore, but it's a pretty well balanced team. They've got outstanding weapons. They can run the football. They've had excellent drafts the last few years, so they're very young. And a lot of those players need a little bit more time to marinate. But I have them at number 5. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I still think San Francisco at this point, just as you watch them, is still a better team. But look, they're going to play each other a couple of times. And I don't think Pete Carroll and that team's going to be intimidated by San Francisco. So I have Seattle at number 5.
All right. My number 4 team is the San Francisco 49ers. I know they've lost 2 in a row, but it's I'm not going to overreact just yet. I mean, we could look back at this 2-week stretch and just kind of chuckle at the end of the day and say, we actually worried about the 49ers. No, I mean, they're like you said, they're still a really good team. Good teams lose sometimes. I mean, it is what it is. But if you are San Francisco, though, you are looking at it and saying, well, let's hope that, these little trends from Brock Purdy aren't going to stick around. Let's hope that, these mental mistakes and mental errors that are made by the 49ers don't become a something that repeats itself. And you hope that Deebo Samuel gets healthy and everyone else stays healthy. But for now, they have a very tenuous grasp on number 4 spot for me.
I'm with you on that. Number 4 for the San Francisco 49ers. At their best, they look like the best team in football, but the last 2 weeks they've regressed pretty noticeably with some injuries on offense, but they're supposed to be the best constructed roster, so they should be able to at least get through with those injuries. They haven't been able to, again, because they have a quarterback who I think is good, but he's not a guy who's going to carry a team. So here's what's going to happen. If they don't make it to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl this year, Kirk Cousins will be the starting quarterback for the 49ers last year. Kyle Shanahan loves him.
Yeah, well, they should have just gone out and gotten Tom Brady a couple years ago, and they'd honestly probably have 2 Super Bowls. I mean, it's one of the biggest blunders, and the fact that they've done it multiple times, because obviously, I think they get more slack, or they should get more slack than anyone for not drafting Brady, considering he was literally in their backyard. But the last 5-6 years or so, when there has been a potential or at least a possibility that they could, and they were arrogant enough, and you've been on it with Kyle Shanahan, that he can win with anyone. Well, apparently what's winning? Getting to a conference championship game with a mediocre quarterback? Sure, if that's what you aspire to. But if you want to win, you need elite quarterback play. And man, just watching this Tom Brady with this 49ers team would have been yeah. They'd probably not be losing, or they probably have not lost a game yet with Brady under center, but we'll see. Number 3 for me, the Detroit Lions, probably the most disappointing team of the weekend. And I didn't want to overreact and drop them too far because I did have them at number 1 last week, and this could John, be a mirage. Just, hey, sometimes, like I said, good teams have bad weeks, but it's the Lions. Any sort of hiccup, automatically gives you nightmares about what could happen with this Lions team, because it's the Lions and they haven't won a game in 50, 60 years. So, or haven't won a playoff game. They have won games, not many, but they have won games in that time period. They did not win this week though. So I've dropped them from number 1 to number 3.
I dropped them from number 1 to number out at this point. That was really debilitating loss. Look, they're going to win the division, although now Minnesota's up to 3-5, 3-4. Maybe they're going to get involved. That division's kind of wacky anyway. I have Detroit out. I have the team that beat them at number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. They have an outstanding defense, and Lamar Jackson the last couple of weeks has really elevated his play. Like you said, he may be an MVP candidate. I know you picked him to win the award before the season, and I think he'll get into that conversation. I have Baltimore at number 3.
All right, number 2 for me, the Kansas City Chiefs. Probably the best their offense has looked all season, but again, it's they've looked good, but not like you know what I mean? They're not that dominating team. Like I said, there is no dominating team in this league. We thought maybe it might be the 49ers, and that really had, they're great, but not dominant. Same with Kansas City. I thought they had a nice win against the Chargers this past week. I'm still convinced that the Chargers aren't going anywhere with Brandon Staley as their head coach. No matter what they do, no matter how they add to their team, what they do to improve, they're just never going to win anything with Brandon Staley as the head coach. So it's a shame. It's a shame, because I thought Justin Herbert was pretty good this past week. It obviously wasn't good enough for them to win, and that's the problem. They're just never good enough to win the big games, and that's the issue with the Chargers. The Chiefs, on the other hand, have not had a problem winning big games as of late, unless the opposing quarterback on the other side is Tom Brady. So in this case, yeah, number 2 for me, and knocking on the door at number 1.
Number 2 for me is Philadelphia. So I think we have the same 2 teams, 1 and 2, just in a different order. And Philadelphia was very impressive Sunday against Miami, but we kind of gave the warning that what is Miami? A team that is 5-2, but the teams they've beaten aren't very good. I believe the combined record of the 5 teams they've beaten is 8-25. So, they haven't played much. The 2 teams they've played that are considered good, Philadelphia and Buffalo, pretty much manhandled them. So that's why I have, as impressive as Philadelphia was, Kansas City was impressive too. I don't know what they beat, but again, I have Philadelphia at number 2. Their offense looked better this week, although Jalen Hurts did throw a pick 6, which is always troubling, but it does happen. I have Philadelphia at number 2.
Yeah, and that didn't help my fantasy football team out at all. Not at all. Yeah, it's a tough week. Tough way to lose this week for me. It would have been a huge win, but hey, I'm used to it. I'm used to the failure. I'm essentially like the Buffalo Bills of fantasy football. So, anyway, so yeah, my number 1 team is the Eagles. I had them at number 2 last week. Of the 2 teams, of all the top teams that we had, only 2 of them won, and Chiefs and the Eagles were that. So I bumped them both up a spot. And look, I mean, this Eagles team, again, it's one of those teams that they have flaws, just like Kansas City, just like San Francisco, just like certainly like Buffalo. But they seem to overcome those flaws more often than not, and that's a pretty good sign of a good team, especially if you're trying to project 10, 11 weeks down the road when we get to playoff time and everything like that. Because by then you would hope that, they would have cleaned up some of the mistakes and errors that were leading to some, less than ideal situations for them. But for now, I do like them at number 1. And you know what? That can change next week. It could not. We'll see. But yeah, number 1 for me, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep, I got Kansas City number 1, but it's razor close between those two teams. The only two teams with one loss, and they met in the Super Bowl a year ago. Will we get a repeat matchup in the Super Bowl? It hasn't happened for 30 years. Most likely won't happen because there's a lot that has to go right for those teams to get back there. But yeah, Philadelphia's still impressive, but I have Kansas City just a little bit above them.
And that's going to do it. That's it. That's our top 5 teams. Subject to change, certainly by next Monday or Tuesday when we do this again. But that's going to do it for us here today. We will be back on Thursday, though, and we're going to start gearing up for Week 8, Thursday Night Football. And then, of course, Friday, we'll wrap up the week and give our picks for the upcoming week. And maybe I will hit above the Mendoza line this week. So I'm not optimistic about it, though. I'm pretty sure I was well below it. So anyways, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at FPC Radio Live. And, of course, head over to fullpresscoverage.com and fullpresshockey.com to check out all the latest and greatest. So thank you, everyone. And we'll talk to you then.